Top stories tonight. Central Bank of Nigeria raises interest rate to 27.25%, fifth in 2024. President Tinubu declines assent to bill seeking legislative officers' tenure extension. Court dismisses motion to overturn Philip Schreiber's reinstatement as Deputy Governor of Edo State. And Mali junta chief Assimi Goita reviews strategy after terror attacks. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewige. Let's begin with our lead story tonight, that the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has increased the monetary policy rate, which sets the benchmark for interest rates from 26.75% to 27.25%, surpassing analysts and economists' expectations. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso announced the 50 basis point hike during a press conference on Tuesday, following the committee's 297th meeting in Abuja. News Central's correspondent Perpetua Fasanmi-Peter interviewed analysts to gather their perspective on the decision.
Raise the MPR by 50 basis points to 27.25%.
This announcement was a shock to many analysts and economists.
I think, what the market was expecting was a flat, change in the policy rate. But this that has happened is a surprise, to the market.
Continuing to raise hike rates, it's got to stop, because whilst you are doing that, first, you are not reducing money supply. And secondly, like you said, we are affecting businesses. Cost of borrowing is going to go up regardless of what you do. As soon as you hike rates, cost of borrowing will go up.
Though the rate hike may pose challenges for local businesses and production, it can also attract foreign investors seeking higher yields, especially as central banks in the US and UK ease policies.
You will find that Nigeria is now a more compelling market for those investments coming from abroad to look for higher yield on investment instruments, and that, to my mind, should support the stability and possibly the appreciation of our exchange rate. When a country understands how to make the best use of foreign portfolio investments, you can sustain those investments over a medium to long term in your economy, and they continue to help you to stabilize your currency.
Analysts unanimously argue that addressing Nigeria's inflation crisis requires a more structural approach beyond simply cutting interest rates.
Where hopefully, if we get it right with the Dangote, with the introduction of Dangote into the picture with regards to refined petroleum products, we should see a significant reduction in the demand pressures on the dollar. So this is completely outside of the NPR thing and all of that. This is just something that we're talking about, the exchange rate, and if we get that right, then we should see a reduction in inflation.
Well, I think two numbers come to mind for me when we talk about exchange rates. Number one is $7.3 billion. That is the amount that government officials have said that Nigeria will be able to save when we sell our crude oil in Naira to local refiners. A more compelling number for us to save on an annual basis going forward looks to me like that $20 billion, assuming that we can completely eliminate all form of oil-related importation. I think that will be more instructive and more supportive of our FX rate stability going forward.
The 297th meeting of the MPC also saw the committee hike MPR by 50 basis points to 27.25%, retain the asymmetric corridor around the MPR at plus 500 to minus 100, raise the cash reserve ratio of deposit money banks to 50% and that of merchant banks by 200 basis points to 16%. However, it retained the liquidity ratio at 30%. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasanmi-Peter.
Many thanks, Perpetua. To help us unpack this now, we're joined by financial analyst Muktar Mohammed. Muktar, thanks for joining us. What are the primary economic reasons that would prompt the CBN to raise interest rates for the fifth time in 2024? And how does this align with its monetary policy objectives?
Well, thank you. I think the CBN is looking at the result that they've gotten with the rates hike. We've seen inflation for the past 2 months comes down. They've seen marginal they've seen maximum decreasement in terms of inflationary pressure. So that might just be the reasons. And also they've seen the exchange rate stabilize between 1,600, and there's a comparison between the parallel and the official market. That could also be one of those reasons, because again, the key driver of Nigerian inflationary pressure, like just some of the analysts said, it's not largely because of liquidity supply. If you reduce liquidity in the system, that what they're doing, you kill one of the most vibrant sector of the Nigerian economy, which is the informal sector. I think the key driver of Nigeria liquidity challenge has to do with FX rate volatility and high cost of tariff of household items, which have not been addressed, despite the president trying to sign into law the bill that, or would I say a bill, or signing into law what he thinks the executive order that stop charges on household items. That has not been implemented yet. I think basically that's what the CBN is looking at.
How does the raising of the interest rate to impact inflationary pressures in the Nigerian economy, and what are the expected short-term versus long-term effects?
Well, the short-term effect hike of rate will do with basically, first of all, cost of borrowing has gone up. So that means a lot of businesses will not be able to borrow. And those that have borrowed, I mean, they are paying higher costs in terms of for borrowing. And that also will translate to cost of production, cost of goods and services will go up. That is the first shock in terms of when you hike interest rate. That is for the short term. Like some of them said, long term is attraction of foreign portfolio investors. I call it Perpetua investor, no foreign direct investors. Foreign portfolio investors will come in. But I differ when we say, oh, we're going to have foreign investors, because for a while now we've been hiking the rate. They hadn't come. Maybe now they might come because of also of the cut of rate in the United States. But it's neither here nor there, because we've hiked those rates for a long time, and we didn't attract those foreign portfolio investors, because no foreign portfolio investor will come to your market when they have very unstable exchange rate. Presently, those investors feel that the naira is undervalued. Do you want to come to an economy when the naira is undervalued? What would be the rate of going on? There's a lot of volatility in the exchange rate. So for the long term, that is supposed to be what we are going to see, but I'm not sure we'll see that, even if the CBN think that's what we hope to achieve. But the good thing is that the CBN have finally realized that hiking of rates and is stopping the sector of liquidity is not the solution to the problem. They have to deal with the exchange rate volatility. And that's why they're hiking rate this time, to attract foreign investors, so that we'll have liquidity in the system that will be able to meet legitimate FX demand, and that might drive down inflation.
How does a 27.25% interest rate affect the liquidity and lending capabilities of Nigerian banks, particularly in terms of loan insurance to small and medium-sized enterprises?
Well, when you look at that, the number, 27.25%, what it means that the lowest amount that you can borrow from the bank will be 27.25%. I mean, the bank can borrow from CBN at 27.25%, and what it means that the bank also will not be able to lend to you at 27.25%. And I mean, they might also loan out at about 30%. So basically, that will mean, what it means is high cost of borrowing, and that will have a negative effect on businesses, like I said.
All right, Muktar, as always, thank you for speaking with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
President Bola Tinubu has withheld assent to a bill proposing to extend the service tenure of legislative officers at the National Assembly and the 36 state houses of assembly. The bill sought to increase the tenure from 35 to 40 years and raise the retirement age from 60 to 65 years. The president's decision was conveyed in a letter read today by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during the Senate session. This harmonized and controversial retirement age bill had earlier been shelved in February 2024 for further consultation following significant opposition from lawmakers. First introduced in the 7th Assembly, the bill also stalled in the 9th Assembly before being reintroduced in the 10th Senate. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has submitted an additional supplementary budget proposal for the Federal Capital Territory Administration for consideration and passage to the House of Representatives. The proposal was read by the Speaker of the House at the resumption of plenary after a 2-month annual recess embarked upon by lawmakers. President Tinubu says that an additional proposal is being prepared on the reviewed revenue and expenditure forecasts of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, which aligns with the fiscal and developmental policies of the federal government and will help the FCTA to prioritize and improve human development within the capital.
I write in accordance with the provisions of Section 121 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to forward herewith an additional supplementary budget proposal for the FCT for consideration and passage by the House of the Representatives. This supplementary budget proposal has been prepared on the basis of the FCT's reviewed revenue and expenditure forecast. While I trust that the House of Representatives will, in their usual expeditious manner, consider and approve the 2024 supplementary budget proposal of the FCTA, please accept, Right Honorable Speaker, the assurances of my highest considerations and regards. Yours sincerely, signed, Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Also tell you that President Bola Tinubu has formally requested the Senate's confirmation of Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. The later address to the Senate was read by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during Tuesday's plenary. In the later, Tinubu invoked Section 231, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, which grants him the authority to appoint the CJN upon the recommendation of the National Judicial Council, subject to Senate approval. He expressed strong confidence in Justice Kekere-Ekun's nomination and urged the Senate to expedite the confirmation process. The NJC had in August recommended Justice Kekere-Ekun to the President as the successor to former CJN Justice Olukayode Ariwola.
I am pleased to forward for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of 21 underlisted nominees as commissioners to fill the existing vacancies of their respective states in the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Ms. Linda Nkechi Oti for Abia State, Mr. Akpanimo Effiong for Akwa Ibom, Enefe Ekene for Anambra, Professor Steve Uba for Benue, Chief Eyonsa Willie Cross River, Oruviere Egawe for Delta, Ndoka Henry Auregu for Ebonyi, Victor Eboigwe for Edo, Wumi Ogunola for Aikiti, Ozo Obureme Obodogu for Enugu.
Meanwhile, Senator representing Abia North, Orji Uzo Kalu, has called on President Bola Tinubu to take urgent and decisive actions to alleviate the growing economic hardship Nigerians are facing. Speaking to journalists on Tuesday at the National Assembly's resumption in Abuja, Senator Kalu acknowledged the steps already being taken by the president, but emphasized that more needs to be done to ease the burden on citizens. Responding to questions about the pressure within the ruling party to reinstate fuel subsidies, the senator expressed his support for any decision that would help reduce the economic strain on Nigerians.
The reformation going on now have never happened in the last 60 years. No president, as I'm telling you, had the courage to do what President Tinubu is doing now. It's about courage. The man is very courageous in terms of courage. Possibly, if I'm president, what he's doing now to reform the economy, taking everything together, I might not do it. I might come slowly, but the man is very courageous, very, very courageous. So it goes with hardship. So people, I know, even in my village, and everywhere I go, the companies, everybody, there's hardship. But I appeal to federal government, I appeal to the president to know how he can bring succor quickly to people of Nigeria. He has to do something, not yesterday, today, not tomorrow, today. He must do something like yesterday, because the condition of Nigerian people is not too good. And I believe no president will want his people to suffer. No president in the world elected by people will want those people to suffer. So I believe him and his team, we are here, we are making laws. You people think we are the one holding government. We are not the one holding government. We are just, there are three arms of government, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. We are here making laws. We don't do any other thing than make laws. And it's in that lawmaking that we live. So it is not totally out of place, but Nigeria will come out stronger.
We can confirm that the Nigerian Senate has adjourned its plenary in honor of the late Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. The red
to ensuring the development of our great nation. Very unfortunately, in the course of the break, a man who exuded so much candor, the distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, was broken. A monumental loss to this National Assembly, the Senate in particular, his family, the good people of Anambra State, and Nigeria as a whole. We therefore extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, his constituents, Anambra State, and indeed our dear nation. At the appropriate time, we'll do justice to his legacies by devoting more time in chambers to discuss the times and life of the distinguished senator.
Coming up, court dismisses motion to overturn Philip Schreiber's reinstatement as Deputy Governor of Edo State. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Central Bank of Nigeria raises interest rates to 27.25%, fifth in 2024. President Tinubu declines assent to bill seeking legislative officers' tenure extension. Court dismisses motion to overturn Philip Schreiber's reinstatement as Deputy Governor of Rivers State. And Mali junta chief Assimi Goita reviews strategy after terror attack. Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed two separate motions on Tuesday filed by the Edo State government and the State House of Assembly seeking to overturn the reinstatement of Philip Schreiber as Deputy Governor of the state. The court also awarded a total cost of 400,000 naira against the Edo State government and the State Assembly. Justice Omotosho awarded the costs on the State Attorney General and the State Assembly in favor of Schreiber after the counsel for the State Attorney General, Marvin Omorogbe, and the House of Assembly, Sonia Igbunia, expressed their intention to withdraw the motions for a stay of execution. To the petroleum sector now, the president and chief executive officer of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has urged the federal government to end fuel subsidies completely. Speaking in a 26-minute interview with Bloomberg Television in New York, he said the time is right to end subsidies which have gulped trillions of naira from the country's coffers. According to him, the removal would assist in determining the country's actual consumption. His advice follows the recent commencement of petrol lifting from the Dangote refinery and price increment to 950 naira per litre in Lagos State and its environs, and above 1,000 naira in the north. He stated that fuel production from his refinery will help ease pressures on the naira, and also confirmed ownership of 2 oil blocks in the upstream sector with an expected production date of next month. To discuss this, we're joined by oil and gas expert Adeola Yusuf. Adeola, thanks for joining us. The federal government has always insisted that fuel subsidy is gone. Aliko Dangote, however, is urging the government to completely remove subsidy. Doesn't the statement kind of contradict earlier stands by the government that it is no longer paying subsidy on fuel?
Okay, thank you so much. We have said it times of that number that the government has been paying subsidy. Despite the fact that they wouldn't want us to call it subsidy. The arrangement is this. Before now, it's the government that has been bearing that cost. But after the Eagle Scale declaration by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of a subsidy is gone, the burden has been transferred to the NNPC, and so they prefer that we call it, differential or under recovery. But with the statement coming from Dangote, who we all know that should know about that, it is so clear that the government has been paying that subsidy. Of course, like I said earlier, they like to call it differential or under recovery. That has been there. NNPC has been the one, the shouldering that responsibility. So that statement from Dangote has, confirmed the fact that the government is still paying subsidy on petrol. So it is so clear now to everyone that this coming from Dangote, who should know, who everyone knows that is an active, stakeholder in that downstream subsector. It shows clearly that subsidy is being paid by the government.
How will the removal of fuel subsidies impact the demand for refined petroleum products and the capacity of domestic refineries to meet that demand?
Okay, now to talk about that statement, everyone knows that the president of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, made that statement about 10 days after he started producing petrol at his refinery. That's one. Number two, I remember that before I think around 15th of this month that he started the production and the loading of that product by the NNPC. The sale, the price of the product was around 600 naira. Everyone knows that subsidy is being paid despite that. So now, after he has started production, we all know how much you are buying the product now, around 1,000 naira in Lagos and above 1,000 naira in the north, particularly in Maiduguri, as announced by the NNPC. So that statement coming from Aliko Dangote shows that it's coming from someone who will benefit from removal of subsidy. Of course, argument has been ongoing that even if government continues to pay subsidy, Dangote will still benefit, because now we have had the news that Dangote refinery has now been the major supplier of the petrol that we are using, in the NNPCL, and even members of the major oil marketers have said that they have started lifting the product from Dangote. So Dangote saying that shows clearly that, he wants Nigeria to push the price to Nigerians. And what that will mean definitely is that Nigerians should be getting set, if government eats its core, to buy the product even higher than what we are buying it now. And that is a fact we have to lay to bear.
Quite unfortunate indeed.
So that's the fact. Yeah.
I'm afraid that's the much time will permit us. Deola, as always, thank you for speaking with us.
My pleasure always. Thank you.
There are indications that the Abia State government will commence the payment of the new minimum wage in October. Commissioner for Information, Oke Kanu, made this known during a press briefing on the resolutions of the State Executive Council. This long-awaited welcome news has been welcomed by the workers across the state. News Center's Chinwe Ugele has more.
25, 2024, the federal government and organized labor reached an agreement on a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira. However, 2 months after the pronouncement, the implementation of the wage structure remains pending across most states in the country. The announcement by the Commissioner for Information, Oke Kanu, setting a date for the commencement of payments in Abia has been met with cautious optimism by workers.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, Abia State government will commence the payment of minimum wage to its workers from the month of October. This, in part, is to underscore the government's commitment to the welfare of Abia workers and a fulfillment of the promise of His Excellency.
For the civil servants in Abia State, it is all about fulfillment of the promise made by the governor himself on the Workers' Day.
I'm pleased to inform you that we shall take the lead in implementation as soon as a new national wage is agreed. Once we are through, we will not only implement it, but we will also backdate it and pay you arrears.
However, the commissioner was unable to confirm whether the governor will pay arrears, leaving workers uncertain about what to expect by the end of October.
Well, quite unfortunately, till date, we as civil servants have not seen anything till this month that we heard that he said that he's going to pay the 70,000 minimum wage.
The lack of clarity has left many in suspense, but workers remain optimistic that the government will not only meet but exceed expectations.
Expect the same 70,000 naira from the federal government's approval, and I know he may even add more. He may even add more than that because seeing that young man as a governor, he liked doing something above or doing something different from what others have been.
I believe if they even give the 70 that they promised, it will be a big relief. Anything less than that it amounts to not helping the masses.
When contacted for comments, the Abia State chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Omonayo Okoro, said he was attending a national-level meeting in Bauchi on the modalities for the payment of the minimum wage and was unavailable for an interview at the time. Expectedly, everyone who works as a civil servant in Abia State Civil Service will receive what is due to him or her in due course. In Omahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Still ahead, Mali junta chief Goita reviews strategy after terror attack. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. The news continues in West Africa, where Mali's junta chief convened top military officials to reassess security strategies following devastating terror attacks in the capital Bamako, which claimed numerous lives. An al-Qaeda-linked group took responsibility for last Tuesday's coordinated strikes targeting a section of the capital's main airport and a military police training facility. The attacks left over 75 people dead and more than 250 injured. During the high-level meeting, officials conducted a thorough review of security protocols, reassessed the evolving threat, and issued fresh directives to bolster defense measures. In his first public address since the attack, Mali's military leader, Colonel Assimi Goita, honored the victims and emphasized the urgent need for heightened vigilance and exemplary operational readiness in the face of ongoing threats. The 79th United Nations General Assembly convened in New York, gathering world leaders to confront urgent global challenges. Notable speeches from the Presidents of the United States, South Africa, Brazil, and Turkey underscored the critical need for international collaboration and sustainable solutions. News Center's Chidimma Ona reports.
At the 79th UN General Assembly, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the exclusion of Africa from key decision-making structure in the UN Security Council, calling for reform. Ramaphosa also highlighted South Africa's commitment to peace, security, and human rights.
Achieving and maintaining peace and security requires the collective will of the community of nations gathered here. 78 years since its formation, the structure of the United Nations Security Council remains largely unchanged. Africa and its 1.4 billion people remain excluded from its key decision-making structure. This cannot continue. The UN Security Council must be reformed as a matter of agency.
In his final address to the UN General Assembly as U.S. President, Joe Biden emphasized the urgent need for humanitarian assistance in war-torn regions. He called for renewed global partnerships, urging nations to collaborate in tackling climate change and addressing global inequality.
Our test is to make sure that the forces holding us together are stronger than those who are pulling us apart. That the principles of partnership that we came here each year to uphold can withstand the challenges. That the center holds once again. My fellow leaders, I truly believe we're at another inflection point in world history, where the choices we make today will determine our future for decades to come. Will we stand behind the principles that unite us? Will we stand firm against aggression? Will we end the conflicts that are raging today? We take on global challenges like climate change, hunger, and disease.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Brazil's President Inácio Lula da Silva delivered impassioned speeches on the ongoing humanitarian crisis, stressing the importance of diplomacy in conflict resolution. They called on the international community to collaborate on finding solutions to the world's most pressing challenges.
We are living in a time of growing anguish, frustration, tension, and fear. We are witnessing an alarming escalation of geopolitical disputes and strategic rivalries. 2023 holds the sad record of the highest number of conflicts since World War II. Over $90 billion have been mobilized with nuclear arsenals. These resources could have been used to finance the fight against hunger and climate change.
Our problem is with the oppressor and the oppression, just as it was 5 centuries ago. Everybody should know about this. We will always speak of the truth and speak of what's right and what's fair.
The discussions at the UNGA 79 highlighted a growing consensus among world leaders on the interconnectedness of today's challenges and the need for a cooperative action. As the Assembly continues, the focus remains on dialogue and the urgent call for a unified response to the global crisis we face. In Lagos for News Central, Chidimma Ona.
Underlying problem in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
In the meantime, President of Sierra Leone also had his time at the Assembly, where he pushed for Africa to be given permanent membership in the UN Security Council.
I've called for meaningful dialogue and led by example by visiting the head of state of Burkina Faso before Sierra Leone assumed the presidency of the United Nations Security Council in August 2024. We need to build bridges, and this requires the international community's commitment to working with the regions to implement dialogue-based, region-led,
and region-owned solutions.
Our correspondent, Bernard Kede, who is on the ground in New York, joins us now. Hello, Bernard. Please give us what is the latest information that you have on events at the sessions that we expect to continue?
Well, Felicity, from the package you just played there, compiled by our correspondent Chidima, on basically she highlighted most of the things that have happened. I think the President Joe Biden of the United States, giving his last speech as the President of the U.S. at the United Nations General Assembly, set the pace for the conversations that will flow so far today and throughout the week. And these conversations have actually been flowing. Like Chidima put in that report, most of the presidents who spoke talked about collaborations amongst countries, and then others talked about the issues that have been going on all around the world, particularly the crises in the Middle East, talking about Israel and Gaza, talking about wars spreading onto Lebanon, and then talking about the SDGs basically. And then the African leaders who came forward to speak talked about inclusion of African countries in key roles in United Nations. Now the conversation is spreading outside here. There's been a lot of talk about the relevance of the United Nations so far, seeing that it's looking like the United Nations is beginning to lose its grip on certain countries. However, we still have more heads of states who are going to speak. We know that our own President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not here. He's going to be ably represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. We hope to catch him when he speaks. But then something interesting we noticed while we were up there waiting for Vice President Shettima, we saw the Kenyan President, William Ruto, coming out and go to his motorcade, and he was in the company of his guards. But then we also noticed that his strong, will I say, opposition, Raila Odinga, was working with him side by side. And well, of course, with the crisis that's been happening in Kenya, with the kind of protests that we saw recently in Kenya, now is the time for all people to form allies, whether the ruling party or opposition party. It will be expected that everybody will join their hands together and ensure that their countries grow for the better. And of course, that's exactly what the UN General Assembly is all about. Collaboration, joining hands together to ensure that not just the individual countries, but the entire globe, the entire world works as one unit for the betterment of mankind.
Thank you for the update. We appreciate the input you've brought for us. Let's join our business team now for today's business stories.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, Nigeria's unemployment rate rose from 5% in the third quarter of 2023 to 5.3% in the first quarter of 2024. The National Bureau of Statistics released its most recent report on Tuesday, and it showed that the unemployment rate in urban regions stayed at 6%, while it fell to 4.3% in rural areas. According to the report, the unemployment rate among males was 4.3% and 6.2% among females. In Q1 2024 and Q3 2023, the unemployment rate in urban areas was 6%. However, in Q1 2024 and Q3 2023, the unemployment rate in urban areas was 6%. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission reports that 1,220,245 complaints were filed through its customer complaints units in 2023, with the majority of the complaints being related to electricity users overbilling and metering. According to the report, the complaints bothered on metering, overbilling, disconnection, service disruption, delay in reconnection, load shedding, and voltage interruptions, among others. The two discos with the most complaints were Ibadan with 207,216 and Port Harcourt with 205,054, accounting for 16.98% and 16.80% of all complaints respectively. Yola Discos and Aba Discos, in contrast, had the fewest complaints with 4,029 and 11,930 respectively, accounting for 0.98% and 0.33% of all complaints. And finally, top Zimbabwean retailers have warned of potential store closures if the government insists on the use of an official exchange rate they deem overvalued and damaging their competitiveness. 5 months after its launch, Zimbabwe's new gold-backed currency ZiG, which stands for Zimbabwe Gold, is under pressure and has lost almost 80% of its value on the black market, where it trades between 20 and 26 ZiG to $1. Official guidelines require that formal retailers set prices based on the official exchange rate of 14.8 ZiG to $1 or face fines. But retailers including OK Zimbabwe, Spar and TM Supermarkets, a local unit of South Africa's Pick n Pay, argue that this overvalued rate is making their products more expensive than those in informal shops, driving away customers. That's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasanmi-Peter. The news continues shortly.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Up next is sports.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
In a bid to enhance grassroots sports development, City Sports Africa has announced an ambitious plan to train 10 million youths across the continent over the next 10 years. Since its inception, the Sports Development Organization has successfully trained 250,000 youths, focusing not only on sports but also on academics and leadership. This initiative seeks to empower young Africans by providing them with holistic training to excel both on and off the field. Nigeria's billionaire businessman Aliko Dangote has announced that he will no longer be acquiring English Premier League club Arsenal and that the time to do so has passed. In an interview with Bloomberg, Dangote, who was displaced as Africa's richest man earlier this year, says he does not have that kind of excess liquidity to buy a club for $4 billion. In recent years, the Nigerian business magnate, who has supported Arsenal since the 1980s, announced his desire to purchase a controlling stake in the English Premier League club. However, he revealed in the interview that his funds were more needed in completing his multi-billion-dollar refinery in Lagos than buying Arsenal. UEFA has reopened the bidding for stadiums to host the 2027 Champions League final after the match was stripped from Milan's San Siro Stadium. The decision was taken at a meeting of the UEFA Executive Committee on Tuesday. The San Siro was to be the venue for the showcase final, but after Milan officials failed to assure UEFA that planned redevelopment work wouldn't hamper the event, Europeans' football governing body opted to take it away from them. The new host stadium for the 2027 final is expected to be announced in May or June 2025. And finally on sports, American rapper Megan Thee Stallion will perform at the end of the upcoming Atlas NYC 2024 track and field event coming up on Thursday, the 26th of September at New York's Icahn Stadium. The women-only event will feature 36 athletes in the entire meet, 6 races, 6 women per race. Of the 6 events on offer, 4 of them will feature the Olympic champion from Paris. Winners of each race will earn $60,000, $25,000 for second, $10,000 for third, down to $2,500 for sixth.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile. Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Tonight on Entertainment News, Afro Nation is set to make a fiery return in 2025 with a star-studded lineup at Portugal's Praia da Rocha Beach in Portimao, the Algarve. The festival, known for celebrating culture and music, will take place from July 9th to 11th, 2025, with Burna Boy and Thames headlining. Organizers, the Malachite Group, teased that 2025 will be a special 5th anniversary celebration with more surprises to come. Leading up to the festival, there'll be exciting events such as Afro Nation presents LIT at Flippers Roller Boogie Palace on October 4th, and Piano People presents Kevin Momo at Troxy on October 5. Usher's ongoing Past, Present, Future tour at Los Angeles Intuit Dome showcased his enduring talent and star power, solidifying his place as one of R&B's greats. Boyz II Men's Sean Stockman, who joined Usher on stage with Wyan Morris to perform End of the Road, praised Usher's impact, comparing him to Michael Jackson. Throughout the nearly 2.5-hour performance, Usher delivered a dynamic sensory-packed show, revisiting hits from his extensive discography with polished choreography, roller skating stunts, and flawless vocal runs. Highlights included collaborations with LL Cool J and an immersive stage setup. Usher's ability to evolve with the times was evident as he performed songs from various eras, blending R&B, pop, and EDM. The show's mix of nostalgia and modern flair underscored Usher's lasting influence and reminded fans why he continues to thrive after more than 30 years in the industry. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the interest rate to 27.25%, fifth in 2024. President Tinubu has declined assent to bill seeking legislative officers' tenure extension. Court has dismissed motion to overturn Philip Schreiber's reinstatement as Deputy Governor of Edo State. We also brought you news that Mali junta chief Assimi Goita has reviewed strategy after terror attacks. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. And before we go, just a quick reminder that we'll be going live to the ongoing 79th United Nations General Assembly to bring you the speech by Vice President Kashim Shettima, representing President Bola Tinubu at the event. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.